Hello, I'm Jay Himes, PASBO Executive Director. Thank you for joining us. Governor Wolf presented his first budget message to the General Assembly on March 3, and it certainly did not lack ambition. The governor hit every hot button on school finance, restoration of state cuts to school districts, addressing the need for a new basic education funding formula, helping schools meet the mandated cost of special education services, providing school property tax relief, reducing the escalating burden of pension payments, and creating a new cyber charter school tuition rate. The governor told the General Assembly that, quote, "Our state is never going to get stronger as long as we make our schools weaker." Acting Secretary Pedro Rivera called it an historic budget for education. However, there is no easy button for the state budget proposal. It requires 2 tax increases and 1 new tax in order to fund these new education initiatives and costs in other part of the state budget as well. The state's personal income tax will increase to 3.7% to provide dedicated funding for statewide property tax relief, and the state sales tax will increase to 6.6%, plus get extended to some items not currently covered. The new gas severance tax would also help to provide the revenue to provide a welcomed increase for basic ed, special education, vocational programs, and an extensive expansion of pre-K programs. All in, the state's commitment to basic education would reach 50% under the governor's proposal. To provide you with a brief summary of the impact of the governor's proposals on school districts are PASBO's Jeff Ammerman, Director of Technical Assistance, and Hannah Barrick, Director of Advocacy.
The governor is proposing a $410 million increase in basic education funding for 2015-16. At first glance, it may appear that it's an almost $600 million increase, but the nearly $200 million of Ready to Learn block grant funds are eliminated in this budget and rolled into the basic education funding line item. If you download the proposed basic education funding spreadsheets from the PD website, you will see that the 2014-15 BEF numbers listed do include the sum of BEF and Ready to Learn funds. This could lead to some confusion, so be aware your 2014-15 BEF is not increasing. There are 4 components to the increase in the BEF, and they're all tied to restoration of previous cuts. The first is the restoration of ABG funds that were cut in 2011-12. The amount of that portion of the BEF increase is $159 million. The second restoration is that of the Education Assistance Program, or tutoring. If you did not receive EAP in the past, you will not get any of this increase. Just over 160 districts will receive this money, which amounts to about $47 million. The third restoration is a partial restoration. Charter school expenses for 2013-14 will be reimbursed in the governor's budget at slightly over 10%. This amounts to $150 million. When this line item was eliminated in 2011-12, the reimbursement percentage was 22%, therefore a partial restoration. And finally, there are still many districts that are not back to their 2010-11 BEF level when only that component is considered. A partial restoration of those dollars is also included in the governor's budget, which amounts to nearly $54 million. The methodology for determining how those dollars were distributed is not currently clear. 26 districts will not receive any of this money because they are already at or above their 2010-11 BEF levels.
For special education, the governor proposed an increase of $100 million, representing a 9.6% increase in the line item, and bringing the total appropriation to $1.146 billion. The proposal requires the vast majority of the increase, about $96 million, to be distributed to school districts pursuant to the student-based formula recommended by the Special Education Funding Commission. This is the same formula that was used to distribute last year's $20 million increase in the line item. And when added to last year's increase, this means that just about $116 million would be distributed through the student-based formula. The formula uses Act 16 data and targets additional special education dollars to districts based on the number of special education students they have and the cost category of each of those special education students. In this formula, every school district would receive additional special education dollars. The remainder of the increase in special education would go to IU core programs. The governor also proposed a $23 million increase to the line item for career and technical education, of which $15 million would go towards modernizing educational programs and another $8 million would go to career counselors in middle and high schools. The Pre-K Counts program also received a boost of $100 million in the budget to be used to increase the pre-K kindergarten slots by 75% and to move towards universal pre-K for all 3- and 4-year-olds over the next several years.
Thank you for joining us. Future versions of the PASBO Minute will address the other complexities contained in the governor's budget proposal, specifically property tax reduction and pension reform. Please join us also at the PASBO Annual Conference, March 10 through 13 in Hershey, and at our annual Commonwealth Budget Seminars, which will be held on the 19th in Mars, the 20th in Grantville, and on the 24th of March, we will webcast the Commonwealth Budget Seminar. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great day.